Hey everyone, it's Aquila and this is the Lefty Knitter Podcast, episode 106. You can find me on all the links down below, Ravelry, Instagram, Etsy, etc. This is a podcast about, or a video log, I don't even know what you really want to call it, but knitting, yarn, all the things fibery goodness. My husband dyes yarn, sometimes he pops in here, but he has his own video series on the same channel, Johnny Bo Dyes. I hope everyone is well. Today is Wednesday. I'm very late in recording, March 3rd. Normally I start on Mondays, but my mother-in-law was here and it's awkward recording in front of people that aren't John and say Michaela and Hazel. So there we go. Put all these clips together and I post on Saturdays, sometimes Sundays, usually on Saturdays. So look out for that each Saturday. If you're new, welcome. Thank you for coming to find me. I noticed we are finally over 600 subscribers. We're at 610. Woo! It's exciting. I've only been doing this like 3 years or so. 200 subscribers a year. Not too shabby. I'm not going to complain. I know some podcasts aren't for certain people, and you know, there's a ton of people out there that are doing video knitting podcasts, and I encourage you to watch the ones that you find the most entertaining. Sometimes I feel like I don't have enough content because I record every week like this, or it's like the same stuff every week. I have another photographer hat I have to make, and something new will be a pair of fingerless gloves. So I think I'm gonna get John to dye the yarn for that. It's for a friend of ours, and she likes blue. So if you've seen John's videos, we've talked about blue because it's his favorite color, and he seems to dye a lot of blue. But if that's what he likes, that's what he likes. Crazy hair. I just blow dried it, so I'm having like, it's not knowing where to part. I don't ever part my hair in a specific place. I know that's like, I don't know, most people, I guess it falls to a certain place. Mine falls normally there where all the gray is coming in. Having coffee this morning. It is the beginning of the month for work, so it's always a little crazy, the beginning or the end. So Q, you might be like, Q, why? I mean, my name has a Q in it. And I was one of those people growing up that if you didn't feel comfortable saying my name, I was okay with you calling me a nickname, so I would offer nicknames like Q or Quill, or one of my closer friends would call me Quilly. Nobody else got to do that, but so Q was always like, oh, if you can't remember my name, now that's a whole thing, you know, like you should remember somebody's name. I mean, I guess it's always been a thing, but I've never been like, never pushed people to be like, oh, you don't remember my name. I mean, I know it's an odd name. I get it. I'm terrible at remember people's names, and they're common names. So Q has always been a nickname for me, and I answer to Q if I hear it in the wild. So when I got this mug, I thought it was super, super cute. One of my girlfriends in my knitting group actually got it for me. It was at work for the longest time, and then, you know, with the sickness, work was closed, and I finally was able to get it home because we had went environmentally friendly at work, and they were not providing us with paper cups anymore. So we had to bring in our own mugs if we wanted to enjoy a coffee or a beverage or water or anything. And so this was at work for the longest time, so I finally have it back. I'm going to insert some footage here because that needs to precede what I'm going to show you. So we're going to pop that in now.
Okay guys, I speeded up this video because it was a lot of just John and I babbling back and forth about color and whatnot, and so these were pre-cranked socks that I have tied with Hazel's hair ties to try to do some sort of tie-dye effect. You could see I was going in first with a squeezy bottle of color, and now I'm going in with a syringe that John had bought for like basting meat at the cooking store. I had no clue what colors I was going to use, so I did end up using just some of the pre-made colors that he already had. And at some point you're going to see some of these ties start to pop and break. I was not expecting that. I really thought they were going to handle the heat, but I'm not sure if it was the heat or the vinegar that made them eventually break. Not all of them broke, luckily. So, and here I'm just coming in. I was using yellow, I used gray, I'm using greens. I think I even used an olive green that he had pre-mixed. And then here is the color that I wish I wouldn't have done. But it is what it is now, and I don't hate them. I'm not sure if the process we tried by using just a little bit of water in the pan and a little bit of vinegar, well, not a little bit, but vinegar and just enough water to cover the bottom of the pan was the right idea. But I also didn't want to have it completely submerged and then the dye go everywhere. I wanted to try to keep it concentrated. So this is why we chose this method. Then John told me I needed to try to do like a base color, and I wasn't sure how we were going to do that, so I just squirted yellow all over it. And it was just a last minute decision to not have a white sock. And I just pointed to where those ties broke. And I add in a little bit more vinegar, hopefully to get it all up, the dye. And that's where we end.
Now that you've seen those videos, I am not super happy with the results. I mean, I like the results. I think it's really cool looking. It's interesting. I don't like the one color I chose, and I shouldn't have chose it. I should have picked blue instead. I know I just ragged on John about blue, but blue. Can you tell which color I'm not happy about? I'm not happy with the purpley pink color. So because my ties had come off, there's a hair. It didn't exactly give the effect I was looking for with tie-dye, but again, it's not the same as if you were tie-dyeing a piece of fabric, like cotton t-shirt or a silk or something. This was much harder to get into the ties. Let me show you guys the other sides too. These are two that actually stayed. This one stayed. I had one up here. So I was trying to obviously get the resist with the little hair ties. They broke, and I'm not quite sure if they broke because of the acid or the heat. They are just tiny little rubber bands that I bought for my little one's hair. It kind of reminds me of like marble. I think if I would have picked better colors, it would have stayed with that marbly look. It was still very interesting results, and I'm not mad. I'm not sad. I think it's really, really cool. So, yeah, this is all I have to show you guys for now. This is it. I have nothing else. I knit on nothing. When my family was here, I have cranked a few orders. I don't know if I should show those on the podcast, if the people that ordered them would be upset. You know? So, if I do ask the people for permission to show their cranked tubes, I'll show them. Because I'm cranking a 10 skein one, And so it's kind of neat for me too, because I get to see yarns that I've never seen before in person and get to touch and squish yarns I've never seen in person. Like, Biscotti was one I cranked, and I've never touched their yarns before. I'm one of those people that I don't buy a ton online because I like to squish it first. I like to feel it first. So unless I've purchased it before in person, I'm probably not buying it online. I know that's probably not the greatest, but because I try to support people. But again, and we do. John and I both do. I'm not saying we don't. I don't know. And now I have quite enough yarn in my own stash. What was one of the other ones? So I cranked a Zauber ball, which I was a little worried about on the machine because it is like a 2-ply. It cranked really nice on my machine. I have been trying, here's what I think I might be doing wrong with my ribber, if you guys are interested. I'm using that Australian yarn, and it's a 2-ply. And I think trying to do the ribbing with my 2-ply, with that 2-ply, is probably a mistake. Like trying to do that from the start, not using like another yarn that's like a traditional, maybe 4-ply fingering sock weight yarn. So I need to switch to a different yarn and play with my ribber again because I haven't played with it. Oops. I did crank a pair of socks for my mother-in-law while she was here. I can insert a picture here. And I've never used that yarn before either. And it was really pretty. It was a Manos Day. I'm lying. I don't think I've used that Manos de Uruguay. They have different lines. I don't think I've used that line. And they were really nice, and I have a little bit left over. Not enough for like a whole pair of socks, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But they turned out really pretty. They kind of did some stripy pooling stuff, and I love that. I think that's like my favorite look when you're like making a sock, whether it's hand knit or cranked. I think that's just really cool. Even hats when it does the pooling. I like it. Pooling is my friend. All right, that's all I have. I've talked quite a bit. And I have no clue what will be on the agenda to show you this week. I can't even give you like a heads up. So I guess we'll just see what I get into. Hey everybody, it is Friday, March 5th. Sorry, had to look at the date. I know I'm light on content this week, so I thought I would just give you how I'm handling Knitty Bow Fiber Co. on the cranking end, I should say. I mean, I definitely help the Etsy shop getting the yarn John has dyed out the door too. That's no question about it. Like, we're a team here. So when somebody places an order, I email them or message them on Etsy right away saying, here's the address you send it to, and then you put your yarn babies in the mail to me. I then, when I receive them, I will take a picture on Etsy and send you the picture of your babies in my possession, because I feel like that is confirmation that I now have your product, right? Or your yarn product. But I have your babies. Sorry, the light above me is terrible. I should probably turn that off. So, when I get that, I was trying to be proactive in my process, and I don't want to mess up anybody's order because you can order 64 stitches, you can order 62, you can order one tube with yarn held back, 2 tubes or 2 tubes with yarn held back. So there's like multiple things that are going on. Sometimes people forget to say in their order how much they want to hold back, so then they send a message, and it's overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. I've never done something like this. I've never had a business, My parents had a business. totally different kind of business. They actually owned a baseball card store. Remember those? And just is a whole different like thing, right? They have the product and you just come in and buy it. When I first did this, I went straight to the dollar store and I bought some containers. So I bought, sorry, this is not the container I bought, but this is yarn I have ready to go, combed up. I bought containers like this, right? And I have another one over here. So this is actually all the same order. Crazy pants. Not crazy pants to the person, just it's a lot. 10 orders. 10 tubes. It's usually not this many. So I have 2 buckets. I write down what you want, 64 stitches, and it's 10 tubes. There was nothing special. They just want 64 stitch tubes. So then, after I get your yarn, I think in my listing I said I'll have it back to you in 2 to 3 business weeks, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. And so I have to either put your yarn on my Swift and put it on a cone, or sometimes it's already in like a skein, because a hank is the twisted ones, right? Skein is the balls, and I have to put that on a cone also, because everything works better on my machine off of the cone. So then if there's a label with your yarn, it goes either in there if it doesn't fit on top, or like the patterns, it fits on top. So I just put it on there, and these are all ready to go. I normally keep everything in the closed lids because I want to minimize exposure. I have cats. That is in my listing, stating it's a cat-friendly home. I also don't let them like get all over this stuff. It's put up, so it's put away. I have other ones in here that need to be cranked. This is the package it came in, so I try to keep everything all together to minimize my amount of stress. Once it's on the cones, I can then crank it on the machine. It gets the waste yarn on the ends. Step back. I have 2 colors of waste yarn. I have white, which works great with some yarn, and I have green. Well, I was cranking out an order, and it was actually one of John's skeins of the Kiss Me I'm Based colorways, and my waste yarn didn't work. I had to find some scrap yarn I had, because I couldn't put white or green on it. I want people to be able to pick up the stitches from their waste yarn. So I did place an order to get like a yellow, like a bright neon yellow. I figure I'll, at least out of those 3, I'll have something to put on a yarn. Like this one, I can use the green because it's like lime green, or the white. It really doesn't matter. But on this patterns, because of it having the white in there, I will use the green. I wouldn't even attempt to put the white. Now, if the yellow came in time, I would put the yellow on that. I want to make it easy for you to pick up your stitches. And like this one, I wouldn't use white either. So if the yellow comes, or actually I'd probably use the green because it's the highest contrast. But I hope this person is not upset. I know she does watch. I hope she's not upset that I'm showing her yarns. But I already sent her pictures of these cranked, but I haven't actually taking them apart. So this was its own tube, and I did that only because this yarn was a little bit thinner. It was a 2-ply, and I was actually a little worried about cranking a 2-ply. It's actually a Zauber ball. So, but I was worried that if it dropped a stitch, that stitch would run into that whole sock snake that I was cranking. This is 4 skeins of yarn, y'all. You ready for this? I love it. I will take these apart. I won't mail it as one sock snake. I use ravel cord in between, so I will put waste yarn, ravel cord, and then more waste yarn. I do 15 rounds. That way, if it does drop a little, it's not dropping all the way into your actual working yarn. And so I will unravel those before I send them, and they'll each get, I try to put their label back on them if there's a label. If the label doesn't go around the yarn, I have stitch marker, like light bulb stitch markers. I will attach your label back onto your yarn. That way you have it all as one nice package. The only other thing I didn't think about when I had started this, and I think I need to modify my listing a little, was sometimes there are knots in yarn. Now, industry standard, there is an industry standard of how many knots can be in how many yards of, or how many ounces. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there could be knots in your yarn. There could be breaks in your yarn. And if it's skeined up, you might not know that. Like if you've never unskeined your yarn, you might not know that. I am doing Russian joins on my machine, which means instead of you having two loose ends that could unravel, like from the break, because I'll cut the knot out. The knot will not run through that machine. I will cut the knot, and then I will do a Russian join. Now, if you don't know what a Russian join is, let me find some yarn, because it's easier to explain it if I have yarn. One second. This was one of the ties from that yarn that I have combed up. I used purple on that one that I was telling you about that I couldn't use green or yellow, or green or white. So when you're knitting around, you get to a point where you want to join your yarn. So when you're knitting, you will loop it back, and I loop it back on my machine. So you'll have maybe 10 stitches, maybe less, of double row of one color. And then I will, on my machine, attach the second strand, the other strand, I should say. It will then be, can you see how I looped it inside of the other color? So then this color will also have a couple stitches that are double strand in one stitch. And then it'll go back to knitting just a single strand. I've been marking them with stitch markers just so people are aware. If you have to end up cutting, like you're cutting your tubes, most likely, most people are cutting them to make things. I want you to know where that Russian join is, because you're going to have to pick up 2 stitches in that, like this part, you would, if you were cutting it right near here, you would have to be picking up 2 stitches as one, because this is going to be creating 2 loops as one stitch. You can look up videos for Russian joins for hand knitting. There's videos on Russian joins for using it on the machine if you wanted to watch those also, just to see how it works. It's very interesting that you can do the exact same thing on the machine that you can do with hand knitting. But I wanted to give you guys just a rundown of how I'm handling things. So I have my notepad, so I've been writing everybody's order. So if you've also purchased yarn from, say, John and wanted it cranked, I automatically put it in its mailer with a sticky note so I can have that cranked too. I should just get more boxes, then I can stack them all over there with my stuff. And people have sent me like postcards and notes, and I've hung them up on my board, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting. And I picked up a 4 skein order yesterday from the P.O. box, and I have another one that I think is coming today. So I'm gonna be busy. I want to get this order out hopefully this weekend, if not early next week. So yeah, I just probably should go buy a few more of those from the dollar store, so they can each, even if I put it in the mailer, I can put it in a bin. That might be the best way to do it. So also, if you choose to buy yarn from our shop, you can have it cranked at a premium, at a cheaper price, because you're purchasing the yarn from us. So that's just an incentive, just to let you know that. And you have the same options of 1 or 2 tubes, 64, 72 stitches, all the same options, just at a premium price because you're purchasing our yarn, so thank you. All right, I've talked for 12 minutes now about my process in my head that I'm trying to make work for me so I don't lose it. Because I don't have anything else to show you. All right, let's round up this video. I have a special co-host who's gonna talk in a little bit, in a couple minutes, right? We agreed. Yeah, we agreed. I just want to show the little bit of progress I made on the Catbells sweater. This is for Maggie Moodle. Remember? So I was, excuse all that, I was here, and now I'm here, and that's the progress I made. I'll put the notes for the designer and stuff. All right, let's round it up. Go ahead, tell them what you're showing them. Tell them about it. What happened?
Yesterday at school, I got a wiggly tooth, and when I was doing this, it just slid right out into my mouth, and then Miss Vanessa, which is my teacher, gave me a freebie pop for the blood. And then the tooth fairy gum, and she gave me $5.
$5. Go ahead.
Let me go show them.
Oh, your money? Okay, yeah.
The money.
So I've done research because she keeps talking about the lateral next to the front too, which she's already lost, being loose. And I was like, she's not supposed to lose that for like another 2 years. But the dentist said it's fine, so.
This is the pillow, so I don't lose it, the curtain.
Yeah, so you don't lose your tooth.
And
We got that on
has my
Etsy.
name.
Yeah. The tooth fairy brought it.
$5
For losing a tooth. So what are you going to spend your money on?
Buying a butt.
Buying, oh my gosh. Yeah, you remember 2 years ago when all she would talk about is butts? She still only talks about butts and farts and poop. Right? Yeah, all right, come on and say it.
Because you are not my friend.
Oh my gosh, I am not her friend. This is a thing too now. Or I don't love you, and that's hurtful. Come here. Come here and say bye to everybody.
Bye.
Bye. I say knit happy. What do you say?
He's a TV.
It's on TV. All right. Until the next episode, y'all. Bye.